Well, the RNC is over, and I think we've seen just about enough of what the Republican Party has been reduced to under the so-called leadership of Donald Trump. It's time for America to choose. Do we want a courageous leader like Joe Biden, who when he falls down, he gets back up, whether he falls down going up a flight of stairs or trying to go up the flight of stairs again, or even just walking across a room, he gets back up as many times as it takes to cross that room? Or do we want to descend to the level of a man like Donald Trump, who when he falls down, because, he's been shot in the head by a bullet from an AR-15 sniper rifle, sure, he gets back up, but then he spits the bullet out and shakes his fist at death and shouts, "Fight, fight, fight," which frankly is just divisive. I, for one, was appalled by the RNC and its rampant display of Christian white nationalism and Sikh white nationalism and biracial rapper woman white nationalism and even black white nationalism from people like Tim Scott, who has so internalized white supremacy that he expects to be treated just like everybody else. It's disgusting. And then there was Vivek Ramaswamy, and who even knows what the hell color he is with a name like that? It must be 7 syllables at least. The guy could be purple for all we know. And this Rama, whatever his name is, had the gall to stand up at the RNC and say that Americans should be able to disagree with one another openly and then still treat each other with respect, which is against everything the Democrat Party stands for. Democrats understand that here in America, people are free to disagree with us, then be called racist, then be banned from YouTube and other social media, then be summoned to HR, fired from their jobs, and have their homes raided in the early morning hours by armed federal agents so they can be charged with any crime we can drum up, then spend the rest of their lives being harassed by screeching men with pink hair, face piercings, and tattoos who are taking female hormones until they turn into screeching women with pink hair, face piercings, and tattoos who are indistinguishable from all the other Democrat voters. We will not allow some purple-faced Vivek Hamahuni to weaponize the First Amendment by using it to give a voice to people with other opinions than our own. That's not who we are as Americans. While Republicans were at the RNC wearing silly cowboy hats and screaming belligerently about their radical MAGA agenda of cutting taxes and standing up to our enemies, our President Joe Biden was having a civilized conversation with NBC's Lester Holt. And sure, we couldn't understand what he was saying half the time either, but the point is, he was setting a good example by sitting right there in close proximity to an almost black man and condemning Donald Trump for saying there would be a bloodbath and there were good people on both sides of the Charlottesville riots. And it was incredibly inspiring to see how Lester Holt respected this president so much that he didn't once interrupt him to point out that none of that was true, which is what we expect from journalists. Because as Democrats, we believe that if you don't nod with servile conformity while we're lying to you, you ain't black. Or whatever Lester Holt is, you ain't that either. Basically, if you don't nod with servile conformity while we're lying to you, as far as we're concerned, you ain't a journalist at all, no matter what color you are. So in conclusion, I am personally calling for 4 more years of Joe Biden, or whatever fraction of that time he's got left, because as President Biden himself said in his speech to the NAACP, this country is galazibin anyway to garoon the finch and fanch and boob and dee dobby. And that's exactly why President Biden will remain the Democrat candidate, because we Democrats know that if you ever understand what we're actually saying, we're in deep trouble. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show. All right, I wanted to get one last satire in about Biden, since it sounds like he may be on his way out with a bunch of Democrat knives in his back. One is actually signed by Barack Obama, which I thought that was a nice gesture. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling pretty good, I mean, it's been a good week in politics. The RNC was great. I was there for a day. And, we're conservative, so we have to think glumly and be afraid that everything's going to be stolen and ruined. But there were, a wise man once said, we may lose and we may win, but we will never be here again, so take it easy. Let's enjoy this moment. It really is a good moment. Good time to pre-order Woman Underground, the new book in the Cameron Winter series, my mystery series. I think it's a turning point book that is going to change everything, and I think you'll really enjoy it, and very, very interesting politically. So Woman Underground, you can go on and get it on Amazon. Don't miss our interview, which was with Mark Hemingway. Mark Hemingway is great. He is really a good commentator on the media, especially. And this week we're going to interview a guy named Matthew Goodwin about Britain, what's happening there, because a lot of times that reflects on our politics as well. If you are watching on YouTube or on DailyWire Plus, leave us a comment. And if the comment is hateful, disgraceful, unspeakable, and will get you canceled, we will read it on the air because we want you to be canceled, because then you'll be just like us. This comment is from John Boban. He says, "This vacuous, seemingly inescapable hawk to a girl nonsense is going to drive me into deep Siberian wilderness levels of isolation from our depraved, ridiculous society." Here's my advice, because I got a lot of letters like this on this thing. I was talking about the hawk to a girl, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, don't talk about her, she's awful." Here's the trick. Watch Shakespeare, read Shakespeare, listen to Mozart and Bach. The hawk to a girl can do anything she wants. Then you can laugh at everything else because you're living in a good culture. All right, one thing is clear in the 2024 election: the fight for America's core values is more important than ever. The Daily Wire is on the front lines of that fight, but we can't win without you. Join us right now while we are offering 47% off annual memberships. Go to dailywire.com and use promo code FIGHT at checkout. And you have to raise your fist when you leave that at checkout. You have to actually type it with your fist. Bang, 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 fight. All right, let's get to today's episode. Welcome to the party, pal. Now, I know in this time with all this incredible news cycle, I know what all of you are thinking is, what does our current political situation have to do with the night before Christmas? You have come to the right place, because we are going to explain it to you in Chapter 1, Them Damn Pictures. Now, tossing and turning all night is a frustrating experience for many people. I just call it nighttime. But still, I like to fall asleep too, and that's why I love this Beam Dream stuff. This stuff will put you to sleep. It's not just your run-of-the-mill sleep aid. It's a concoction carefully crafted to help you slip into the sweet embrace of rest without the grogginess that often accompanies other sleep remedies. Beam Dream contains a powerful, all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. Today, my listeners get a special discount on Beam's Dream Powder, their best-selling hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. Now available in delicious flavors like cinnamon cocoa, chocolate peanut butter, and mint chip. Better sleep has never tasted better. Just mix Beam Dream into hot water or milk and enjoy it before bedtime. If you find yourself battling the bedtime blues, give it a shot. Your weary self will thank you. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, take advantage of 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Klavan and use code Klavan at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Klavan with my promo code Klavan for up to 40% off your order. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking Beam is easy to spell. It's easy. How do you spell Klavan? Klavan is Klavan. No E's. All right, we don't know what's going to happen because Biden may leave over the weekend. He may leave while I'm talking. He may leave even before I'm talking. And the Democrats are just in complete disarray and just begging him to go. Everybody is just begging him to go. Adam Schiff, Barack Obama, everybody's just telling him he's got to get out. He's now says he's got COVID, which I believe he probably does have something, maybe dementia. They said, yeah, you're tested positive for dementia, but we'll call it COVID, whatever. But so he may be gone. And we are just seeing the transformation of the GOP, the unification of it under Trump's leadership. And if you compare it to the UK and France, what we've been seeing everywhere is this rise of populism, right? And it's dividing right-wing parties. So in France, they use that division, and in the UK, they use that division to beat them by unifying on the left and even getting rid of candidates in France who, if like a green guy was running against a socialist guy, they would just get rid of the less popular candidate, and that's how they tied the right, who was far ahead if everybody was running. But when the parties are falling apart, like in Britain, Nigel Farage is now an MP, and he's the Reform Party, which is the populist right party, and he's celebrating the destruction of the Tories because he thinks they are the kind of rhinos. He thinks they're the Mitch McConnell Tories, like the Mitch McConnell Republicans. Trump worked hard to do this. He is a political genius. There is simply no question about it. Other people were telling him, not to do this, not to do that. He was finished, retire, name a successor. He wouldn't do it. He wanted to get back into it. And this RNC is a tribute to him. But you also know that there have been God-sent events that have helped him along. And The thing that I just want to, we're going to talk about all about the convention. That's really all I'm going to be talking about. But the thing I want to just talk about for 1 minute is what's happening to the media, because we are all conservatives are so afraid of the media. You say, I think we're going to win this. Well, they'll say this, they'll do this, and they're going to show this and all this stuff. But this is a really, like I said before, it's a watershed moment of media distrust. The Night Before Christmas, the reason I brought up The Night Before Christmas is most of us know it in the 1870 edition, which is illustrated by Thomas Nast. And Nast was mostly known as a political cartoonist. He would do satire cartoons. And his main target was a guy named William Tweed, who was known as Boss Tweed. And Tweed in the 1800s, late 1800s, ran the corrupt Democrat machine in New York. It was called Tammany Hall. And he used his position on various boards to dispense jobs, city jobs to people. So he had all this power because he had all the patronage power. He was ultimately imprisoned for stealing millions of dollars of taxpayer money. He was basically taking it for himself, but he was also giving it away. And that's how he was securing Democrat power in New York. And one of the things that helped bring Tweed down was Thomas Nast's cartoons, the same guy who did The Night Before Christmas. And Tweed hated them because they spoke the truth in ways he couldn't cover up. And he used to say, and this is a quote, he would say, "Stop them damned pictures. I don't care so much what the papers say about me. My constituents don't know how to read, but they can't help seeing them damned pictures." Now today, the Democrat machine includes the New York Times, WAPO, Washington Post, Facebook, YouTube. All of these people are working for leftism, and they feel justified in lying, in censoring people, in skewing stories, in covering stories up, in just flat out telling untruths. And their Democrats can now read some of them, but they're always reading this propaganda. And they think it's true when they hear that, oh, Biden is fine. He's fine. He hasn't, no, he fell down a flight of stairs 3 times in one go. He's fine. They believe it. And they want to believe it, so they believe it. But they can't stop seeing them damn pictures. And Donald Trump has obviously a showbiz guy, a populist guy. He has figured this out. And when you can tell by how they react. When Trump walked out of the White House in June, I think it was 2020, after the George Floyd riots, I immediately saw this picture and I said, what a boss. This is him walking out with Bill Barr in back of him and General Milley in back of him and just all of the staff walking out. And they immediately set up this lie, total lie, that he had tear gassed the peaceful demonstrators in Lafayette Park so he could go out and get this, picture, this publicity picture in front of the church. Complete lie. The police did tear gas them. They weren't at all peaceful demonstrators. They're mostly peaceful. And then when he went out and took off his mask when he had COVID and he took off his mask on the balcony of the White House, whiny Jake Tapper, no, you should be afraid of COVID. You should let it dominate your life, in that high-pitched voice. They know the pictures get through. They get through. You cannot keep those pictures away from his mugshot. Who else would have been as brilliant as Donald Trump? He gets a mugshot. He had one chance at those, right? He looked at it and said, I look great. Let's get him on T-shirts. Let's get him on T-shirts. And now the Mac Daddy of all Trump pictures, the picture of him shaking his fist at death and telling America to fight. And how desperate are they to get rid of this? Here is CNN's Jamie, I think her name is pronounced Gangel. Is that what it is? Anyway, here she is reacting to this incredible, this epic moment of courage. This is cut 8.
After he was hit, former President Trump got up and said, fight, fight, fight. I think what we're hearing from people is that's not the message that we want to be sending right now. We want to tamp it down.
That's what we're hearing from people. She's lying. She's not hearing that from anybody. This is just, don't let people see the fact. All of these pictures are about one thing. They're about defiance of a government that would put away its political opponents in prison, defiance against against a political party that has done everything it can to silence us, that has done everything it can to silence us, and it does it by fear. Be afraid. If you're a COVID denier, the Washington Post ran a piece the other day saying, don't research things yourself. That's what we're here for. They actually did that. They actually said that. And that's what they mean. They do not think for yourself. Do not speak for yourself. Do not research things yourself. We got you covered. And this is what gives power to all the conspiracy theories, all the nutbags, all the fear mongers. They have power because we know we're being lied to everywhere else. But the destruction of the media's credibility after the Biden debate is just unquestionable. I know people on the left. Look, there are going to be people on the left who are just sucked in. Of course there are. But these damn pictures, this time they stand. And this is all Trump's doing. I mean, obviously the events are not Trump's doing. He didn't have himself indicted on ridiculous charges. He didn't shoot himself, all this stuff. But they've been, as I said, they've been providential and have helped him. And the left knows it. Morning Joe had to cancel its show because they know we can't listen to the things he's saying after an attempt on Trump's life, because he's despicable. The things he says are absolutely absurd. Joy Reid, who is out of her ever-loving mind, she had to protect her tweets because she's insane, and we can see that now. And Biden finally gave RFK the protection, the Secret Service protection he's been asking for. Good luck with that, RFK, because the Secret Service obviously has no clue what they're doing. Not the agents, but the people running the Secret Service have no clue what they're doing. And that means, what does that mean? It means that Biden is a political thug who would not give his opponent the Secret Service protection he deserved, and he got caught out because Trump was shot at and he had to do it. These are all confessions of defeat. Van Jones, as I say about Van Jones, I think he's drinking the Kool-Aid on the left, but every now and again he breaks free of the Kool-Aid room and he says something true, and here he is speaking the truth on CNN, Cut 9.
A bullet couldn't stop Trump. A virus just stopped Biden. You've got the nominees of this party getting their butts kissed. Biden's getting his butt kicked by his own party. The Democrats are coming apart. The Republicans are coming together. That's what's happening.
These pictures that Trump has engineered and used, even though sometimes he was just fortunate enough to get them, these pictures represent reality, because Trump is a defiant, tough, courageous man. You can hate him, you can love him, you can disagree with him. He is a defiant, bold, courageous guy who cannot be brought down, and these pictures show it. And guess what? This is what being a man is all about. And as we're going to find out in Chapter 2, the future is manly. Some of you may love the Helix mattress because it is a cocoon of comfort that cradles you to sleep. I love it because I'm awake all night and it's comfortable to lie on. Helix harnesses years of mattress expertise to offer a true elevated sleep experience. The Helix Elite collection includes 6 different mattress models, each tailored for specific sleep positions and firmness preferences, or in my case, for positions I take when I'm lying awake. If you're not nervous about buying a mattress online, you don't have to be. Helix has a sleep quiz that matches your body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress, because why would you buy a mattress made for someone else? I took the Helix quiz and I was matched with a firm but breathable mattress. I love it, and I'm confident that you will love yours too. Helix has a 10-year warranty, and you get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free, and they'll even pick it up for you if you don't love it. I haven't tested that part because I do love it, and I'm not giving it back. Helix's financing options and flexible payment plans ensure that a great night's sleep is never far away. For a limited time, Helix is offering 30% off Luxe and Elite mattress models, or take 25% off site-wide. Each mattress order comes with 2 free Dream Pillows, a $150 value. Just go to helixsleep.com/Klavan. The sale won't last long. helixsleep.com/Klavan. With Helix Sleep, better sleep and better lying awake starts now, but you have to know how to spell Klavan to get those deals. Klavan. You often hear me say on this show, the future is male, because of those T-shirts that say the future is female. But the future is almost always male. And the reason for that is because men only have secondary creativity. Women have primary creativity. They create life. And so men put that creative impulse into other things. And because of that, and because of the fact that they're less risk averse than women are, for perfectly good reasons, they explore new things sooner. And I've commented on this a lot of times. A lot of times women are insulted by it, but it's just true. When you see women take over an industry that used to be run by males, it is because the industry is finished. So women become TV news anchors. That actually means that people are not going to be getting their news off TV anymore. They're going to be getting it off the internet. You see women taking over right now the movie business. That's because the movie business is essentially over. There's a streaming business. There's going to be a 3D business. That's where men are working on. Men are working on Meta. They're always working on the next thing, while women are finally moving up into positions they didn't want to begin with, but now they have to have because feminism. So, so what we had is a generation of kids who were raised I guess it would be, I can't remember which generation, but it's really just the one under me. It's people who are now around 50. A generation who were told that women are equal, they want to be treated as equals, they want to have all the same jobs, they're not just there to have babies, they want to have childcare and go off to work. And guys believed that. And now you have these guys who are really angry at women because of that. And so they fall into, these morons who are talking about their things like that. And, I'm talking about Andrew Tate, but also the guys who tell you how to sleep with 1 million women by treating them cruelly. Any man who pays attention knows he can sleep with a lot of women by treating them cruelly. But will that make you a man? No, it will not. Just a spoiler alert. And then you get girls who are off reading, 50 Shades of Grey and now all these fantasy novels where men are taking them roughly with brute force. And eventually, I think after a generation of lies, men are going to figure out being a man is not about, it's about leadership, it's about family, it's about building a future of something that's going to be there after you're gone. And then women will go along with that because it's what they want too. Now, which party do you think looks more welcoming to men? The party of Richard, a.k.a. Rachel Levine, or the party of Donald Trump, Hulk Hogan, Dana White, who we saw Thursday night, and all the rest of these macho guys singing macho songs in their cowboy hats? There was the RNC, and I got to go there. Like I said, it was really interesting and fun, and very lively. And after an excellent, organized, upbeat, unified convention, and it's very rare. See, unified conventions are usually boring because they're unified, but this one was not. They kept the speeches short, they kept it lively, they kept everything very entertaining. The last night kind of went awry. There was like a 45-minute lull, and Trump got out there late, and his speech was really interesting. I watched it. I wanted it to be great. And the first 20 minutes were unbelievable. The first 20 minutes, he was just talking about getting shot. He just described it. He said, he's only going to say this once because it was tough. He talked about what it was like to have a bullet whiz by your head so close that you could hear it go by. Here's a cut of that 16.
Turned to my right and was ready to begin a little bit further turn, which I'm very lucky I didn't do, when I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me really, really hard.
I mean, that's like this is a presidential candidate talking to you about an assassination attempt. This crowd loves him. They've come together behind him. He has single-handedly changed this party into a populist party, which a lot of people didn't want to have happen. And he has done it by force of will and by political genius. And he's talking to them about this moment when we all became connected with him. I think anybody who had a heart became at least a little connected to him. And obviously, people like me feel the hand of God is operational in these things. I don't pretend at all to know God's plan, but I know that if God had wanted him gone, he'd be gone. And with this kind of newly calm, all through the convention, he's had this newly calm demeanor. He's been laughing. His eyes and face have been lighting up when his family comes on, when his granddaughter came on. It's just been really kind of different Trump than we've seen. And he reminded us, he was describing the event and he was emphasizing the connection he has with the people who love him, and especially in this moment when he went down. So this is cut 17.
This massive crowd of tens of thousands of people stood by and didn't move an inch. The crowd was confused because they thought I was dead, and there was great, great sorrow. I could see that on their faces as I looked out. They didn't know I was looking out. They thought it was over. But I could see it, and I wanted to do something to let them know I was okay. I raised my right arm, looked at the thousands and thousands of people that were breathlessly waiting, and started shouting, "Fight, fight, fight."
What he's talking about there is this connection he has with people, the people who love him, and who can question it? You can hate him, you can love him, but you cannot question this connection. And how, what he was telling you was that he, and I'm sure this is true. I'm sure this is not just showbiz. Trump is a showbiz guy, but I'm sure this is actually true, that he sees himself in that context. I think, a lot of people who are great on stage actually do understand themselves to be part of their audience, to be at one with their audience. And that was this moment when who's thinking about that? Who is thinking about let the audience know, let the people know that their guy is okay, a guy who's wholly connected. And we saw it, and we know that that's what brought it together. And also, I have to say, Trump remains one of the he is the funniest president since Lincoln. I've said this many times, but I don't know, he's got heart, he's got all this stuff going on. He paid tribute. If you're looking at the pictures, he had the uniform, the fire uniform of Corey Comparator, I believe it's pronounced, who was killed throwing his body over his wife and children, said, "Get down," and he was shot. And two others were also badly wounded, and he went over and kind of kissed his helmet. I mean, this is a guy who just makes these connections. And again, he's funny. He got on to, political subjects, and he started talking about how illegal immigration was so way down when he left office. Absolutely true. I think it was like 17 people came in the month he left office. And this just the incredible spikes as the Democrat Party tries to flood this country with their voters. That's essentially what they're doing, with no care for the rule of law, with no care for the safety of the people in this country, with no care of the rights for the people of this country, with no care of what citizenship means and what it means to let people in as we include people, but have to teach them how to be Americans. No care about that, no care for our security, nothing. He's showing the spike on it, and he turns to look at, and this is the same chart he was about to look at when he got shot, and he turns to look at the chart.
One of the greatest charts I've ever seen. It showed everything just like that. You know the chart. Oh, there it is. That's pretty good. Wow. Last time I put up that chart, I never really got to look at it. But without that chart, I would not be here today.
I mean, come on, this is like great stuff. Now, I had a conversation with a bunch of friends who were political guys, and I said, he kind of started to ramble after that. He went into his usual Trump speech, stump speech, his Trump stump speech. And one of my friends said, I like that because it showed he's still this guy. He can, if he hadn't done that, if he'd cut it short, people would have said he's been weakened by this, he's been tired out. But as it was, we could see he's still that guy. He's still going to give it to us. And as he went through it, he built up to that usual kind of let's hammer these guys. He told people that his original speech was going to do that, but then he rewrote it after this. And it emphasized strength. And let's just say it plain. It emphasized manhood. It emphasized what men do when they are protecting their own, when they're protecting their country. He pointed out that he was stronger and incidentally more macho than Biden and the Richard Levine Democrats. He talked about the fact that under every administration, including George W. Bush's, Russia has taken some territory, but not under his, which is just, to me, that is undeniably true. And all of the garbage we've heard, the FBI setups about him being a Russian agent and working with the Russians and loving Putin and pandering with Putin, just, you can say whatever you want, but that is just the truth. And he talked about that. And he talked about something, and the spy bases that China is setting up in Cuba, which he said wouldn't happen under him, which I believe is true. And the other thing he talked about, there's a lot of parallels. There's a lot of different parallels with the past, obviously, but one of them is with Jimmy Carter, who was a terrible, terrible president. And he lost to Reagan because he couldn't get the hostages out of Iran. And every single day, the news people counted down how many days our hostages were being held. Hamas, these rapist, terrorist murderers bent on destroying the only truly free and democratic state in the Middle East, the state of Israel, our friends, our allies, the one place in the Middle East that is built along lines we recognize as being free. They're holding our people. They're holding American hostages. And we know what they do to hostages. We know they're rapists. We know they're killers. We know they use human beings as shields. Not a word about it. And when he brought that up, to me, to me, I don't see how he doesn't win every state after this. But I understand what the left is. But this really was good. This is cut 19.
And the entire world, I tell you this, we want our hostages back. and they better be back before I assume office, or you will be paying a very big price.
Well, when you hear that, you think, yeah, but you shouldn't even be thinking, yeah. You should be thinking, of course. What the hell? Where is our press? Every day they talk about the reporter, as they should, who was arrested in Russia, from the Wall Street Journal, and they're putting him on trial with these false spy charges. But where are the stories about our hostages? They're our hostages. These are not Israeli hostages. These are our hostages. What the hell? They're being held by the worst people in the world, and nobody is saying a thing about it because everybody's afraid of offending the terrorists. Because I think that what we're seeing, there was a report that Jake Tapper said to Chris Wallace, what theme are we seeing at the convention tonight? And Chris Wallace said, is that a trick question? It's testosterone. I don't know if that's true. I just saw it on Twitter, on X, but that's right. That was the theme. There's no question about it. That was the theme. And who doesn't think we need some masculinity in our government? And because I think true masculinity and true femininity are good for America, I would just like to end this chapter with saying thank you to Disney and Kathleen Kennedy for taking all the superhero movies and all the Star Wars movies and turning them gay and feminist. Because if you want to create a cadre, a generation of Republican men, that is the way to do it. There are now polls showing that more and more young men are becoming conservative. I think the New York Times today did a thing of who's listening to what, and the young people are listening to Knowles. I wish they were listening to better stuff than that, but they're listening to Knowles and to Walsh and to Ben. Ben is like the entry drug for most of these guys, most of these young kids. And these guys who want to, just like every other guy, they want to go to the action movies. Instead, they're having action movies made by, here is Amanda Stenberg, who's in the Acolyte series of Star Wars, and Leslie Headland, who's the creator and showrunner of the Acolyte, talking about the new Star Wars series.
I want to ask you both, because this is, I would say, arguably the gayest Star Wars, I think, by a considerable margin. And are you excited about that? Are you bracing yourself?
Star Wars. Not the
It's pretty gay, let's be honest. Leslie, how do you feel?
Am I gay? Yes.
Well, no, I know you are gay, but I'm asking, are you excited about putting this, this is going to be a talking point?
Is it going to be a talking point?
I'm sure so.
Because nerds are gay.
Well, some nerds are very not gay and are very threatened by gay
Well, that's
stuff.
true. But in my world, nerds are gay.
Okay. Was this the fun element of...
No, I don't think so. And yet people have told me that it's the gayest Star Wars, and I'm frankly...
You're offended?
Into it. No.
I think that Star Wars is so gay already.
Okay.
I mean, have you seen the fits? We'd be like, look how gay this is, and then send each other a reference photo.
And are you telling me, with a straight face, that C-3PO is straight?
So, a lot of times on the show I complain that the left owns the culture, but I want to just say thank you to Disney, thank you to Kathleen Kennedy, for if President Trump gets elected in November, you will have played a big part, and I appreciate it. So thank you, guys. Life is full of surprises, but your insurance shouldn't be one of them. Policygenius, your trusted partner for navigating the complex world of insurance, is changing the way we shop for life insurance. Policygenius has licensed, award-winning agents and technology that make it easy to compare life insurance quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks to find your lowest price. Their platform is incredibly easy to use. I've tried it. You can compare quotes from top providers right from your phone or computer, all in one place. Plus, Policygenius has a team of licensed experts ready to answer all your questions and guide you through the process. They'll make sure you get the coverage you need without any of the hassle. What happens if you leave your job? Does that policy follow you? Does it offer enough protection for your family? Getting life insurance for you and your family will give you peace of mind knowing that if something were to happen to you, your family can get back on their feet. With Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Save time, money, and provide your family with a financial safety net using Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/Klavan or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/Klavan. I'll sing it for you.
There are no easy things.
Chapter 3, cry if you want to. You can cry if you want to, but it's Trump's party. It's Trump's party, but cry if you want to. I was in favor of J.D. Vance being named as the vice president, and I rarely get what I want. And the reason is because I want politicians to act with courage and integrity and do the right thing. And that's easy for me to say because I don't lose my job if they get voted out of office, right? But Trump did exactly what he should do. The old guard does not want Trump to take over the party. And I'll talk about that more in a little bit. But they do this all the time. They say, well, you got to spread out and, appeal to more people. Nobody really cares who the vice president candidate is. I think maybe this time it's going to be a little bit more of an issue because Trump and Biden are both so old if Biden is still the guy. But they saddled Reagan with George Bush, who he promptly went on and promised a kinder, gentler nation, as if Reagan and conservatism in bringing back the economy and putting people to work, stopping inflation and creating wealth and ending the Cold War had somehow not been kind and not been gentle. And that is because they were taken by the press and they thought everybody wanted him to be kind and gentle. Why not just say, I'm going to continue the Reagan policies? No, the party wanted the party. The party hated Reagan. They hated Reagan just like they hated Trump. Believe me, this is absolutely true. Later, in retrospect, they loved him. But while it was going on, they were at him all the time, and they wanted. So they basically said to Reagan, "Okay, you took the party away, but we want it back when you're done." And that's why they gave him George Bush. That was the idea with Mike Pence. The same thing with Mike Pence. Trump nominating Vance is saying, it's my party. You can cry if you want to, but it's going to stay my party into the next generation." This is Trumpian populism, and that means first solutions that get results, common sense solutions. It means taking care of the workers. And this is the thing, we all know that Vance grew up in this hillbilly setting with a mother who was addicted. And, he cares about people. And some of the stuff he says economically, it really worries me. He's praised Elizabeth Warren. He's praised the Bernie Bros because he feels the government should help people. And again, I'm going to talk about that. And this frightens all conservatives, but we're all, I think, hoping that he'll be moved by Trump, who is a pro-business guy, and the pure capitalists don't like Trump because of the tariffs and all this stuff, but Vance is on board with that. And he talks about growing up in this poor, neglected, forgotten America that the elites had forgotten. And he talks about the poster boy for poobahs who have forgotten America, Joe Biden. Cut 6.
When I was in the 4th grade, a career politician by the name of Joe Biden supported NAFTA, a bad trade deal that sent countless good jobs to Mexico. When I was a sophomore in high school, that same career politician named Joe Biden gave China a sweetheart trade deal that destroyed even more good American middle-class manufacturing jobs. When I was a senior in high school, that same Joe Biden supported the disastrous invasion of Iraq, and at each step of the way, in small towns like mine in Ohio or next door in Pennsylvania or Michigan, in states all across our country, jobs were sent overseas and our children were sent to war.
One of the funniest claims the left makes about Biden is he's a great president because he's gotten a lot of legislation passed, but they never talk about the fact that his legislation stinks and has made life worse for ordinary people. They don't know that because they don't know any ordinary people and they don't give a damn. They hate you. They think you're deplorable. My favorite claim that Joe Biden has made, and he has made this in almost exactly these words, I'm quoting from memory, but he says, we attacked climate change with the Inflation Reduction Act. And my question is, if it's the Inflation Reduction Act, why is it going after climate change? Because you lied to people. That's why. You are lying to people. And by the way, nothing they're doing is going to have any effect on the climate. It is just boss tweed graft. It is just a way of taking your money and giving it to their friends who make sustainable energy stuff, whether you want it or not, whether you want to put gas in your car or have an electric car, which should be your choice. They want to make sure it's all going to be their choice, and they're going to spend your money giving it to their pals. It's graft. It is boss tweeting and graft. The other thing that Vance said that I thought was really good is we all believe that America is exceptional because it's an idea, and an idea can be spread and it can be given to more and more people. It can be sent around the world. New people can come in. They don't have to look like us. They don't have to pray like us. They don't have to live like us. They just have to sign on to this idea. But the problem with that is you got to bring people in slowly in a measured way that you want to will help the country, and then you've got to train them to be Americans. You've got to make sure they know what that means and what we expect from them, which is the problem they're having in Europe, where the Muslims have flooded in the place and they are in no way interested in assimilating. He talked about the fact, and this is true, and I have to give credit to Knowles because Knowles has talked about this a lot too. He talked about the fact that we are not just an idea. We are also a people. And yeah, we're mutts. I like that about this country. We're all a bunch of mutts. We come from different places. We have different ideas and all this stuff. But still, even as mutts, we are conditioned by our country. You know, I've had this argument with conservatives before who say we love our country because it's good. It's not true. You love your country like you love your mother. Your mother can become so evil that you have to reject her, and that can happen to a country too. But you don't reject your mom when she's doing something wrong. You don't reject her for her flaws. You love your mom. You know the famous poem by Walter Scott, "Breathes there a man with soul so dead, who never to himself hath said, this is my own, my native land." And he says somebody like that is just about himself, and he's going to die unwept, unhonored, and unsung. There's a nobility to patriotism. There's a nobility and a rightness and a justification to loving your country. And Vance had the courage to talk about that because this is where they call us nationalists and bigots and all the names they use to silence us, all the names that really just mean shut up, because we love our country and we love our people. Even when we know we're at loggerheads and disagree, we still love being Americans. And he talked about that, cut 5.
You know, one of the things that you hear people say sometimes is that America is an idea. And to be clear, America was indeed founded on brilliant ideas like the rule of law and religious liberty, things written into the fabric of our Constitution and our nation. But America is not just an idea. It is a group of people with a shared history and a common future. It is, in short, a nation. Now, it is part of that tradition, of course, that we welcome newcomers. But when we allow newcomers into our American family, we allow them on our terms.
That's great. That is well put, well said, and I really believe every word of that. And this attack on us for loving our country and believing ourselves as a people will fail if people can speak like that, like he speaks with the eloquence and education that he has. And that was great. Now, the other things that's bothering people is that we have lost the culture war, as I've been telling you, and the RNC reflected some of that by bringing in people who in the old days would have been looked down upon. And I support this entirely, okay? Because conservatives are bad at culture and haven't learned how to do it yet. We're learning, we're getting better, we're just waking up a little bit. But they think everything can be solved by politics, because when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And when all you know about is politics, you think you can solve everything politically. And you can't. The government is not the church. The government is for everybody. It is for creating a system where we can be free. It's from protecting us from government and protecting us from the powerful and protecting us from bad guys, all the things that the left is not doing. So you know that I hate rap music more than any other person alive. I mean, I just think it's garbage, but I like the fact that they included Amber Rose, and here she is talking about her changeover to Donald Trump. Cut 3.
My message to you tonight comes from a humble place. The left told me to hate Trump, and even worse, to hate the other side, the people who support him. When you cut through the lies, you realize the truth. American families were better when Donald Trump was president.
And she talked as a mom. She wasn't advertising her OnlyFans account and all that stuff, you know. And I get it. You know, I don't think what people should live like this, but this is not the place. This is the place to say we're going to help everybody. And I felt the same way about, you know, the Harmeet Dillon, who is a wonderful warrior for conservative causes, and a lovely woman too. I've met her. She's like a really nice person and just a great legal warrior. And she said a Sikh prayer and people went nuts. No, these are all Americans. I'm sorry. You don't like it? You want white culture? You want to bring back white culture? You're done. You know, no, that way of thinking is not what the country is about, and it never was. It never was. With the exception of the institution of slavery, it was never about that, and the institution of slavery was a bad. And you know, this goes with the abortion plank too. I am so pro-life, and I cannot understand any reason that any argument that anyone has ever made that deprives a baby of his humanity. I can't understand that, and I cannot see how you can kill a baby to solve your problem, no matter how bad your problem is. However, Abraham Lincoln did not say, I am going to get rid of slavery. He said, I'm going to keep slavery out of the territories. I'm going to keep it from expanding into our new states as new territories become states. And that was enough for the South to secede. Why? Because once you say the words, this is bad and should be limited, it's over. Once you say, look, guys, you can't solve your problem by killing an innocent baby who can't defend himself. Once you say that, that's what they keep trying to get you to shut up about. That's why they don't want to show any pictures of a fetus in the womb. That's why they don't want to show, let people say anything. That's why the Biden administration is raiding the homes of old women and fathers of families and taking them off to prison for protesting abortion. They want to make sure you cannot say what everyone can see with a X-ray, with the new sonograms and all this stuff. They want to make sure no one can speak the truth about this, because once you even say it, it starts to roll back the tide. We won Roe v. Wade. We have to start again and build a culture of life. We have to do it, and it's not going to be done only through politics. It's going to have to be done through the culture. And finally, I just want to say Vivek Ramaswamy, I know he's very glib, but he gave a great speech, and this was the part that really moved me because of what I was just saying, but I'll get back to that. It's cut two.
If you're at home and you disagree with everything I just said, our message to you is this: we will still defend to the death your right to say it, because that is who we are as Americans. We are the country where we can disagree like hell and still get together at the dinner table at the end of it.
Now, that was common knowledge when I was a kid. And I know when I was a kid, it was before the Civil War, but still, it was common knowledge. That was exactly what we were proud of in America. I had a neighbor when I lived in California. I had a neighbor, we used to play tennis, and we used to scream at each other, and then we'd have a drink afterwards. We screamed politically. He was a stone liberal, and we were just at the top of our lungs, and then we would sit back and say, what a great country, because we can do this, That's the way it ought to be. That's the way it has to be. And that is, the left has done everything it can to destroy that. Why? Because they can't defend themselves. The same reason they want to pack the Supreme Court, because they lost the majority, so they want to pack the Supreme Court. They lost the argument, so they want to silence dissent. And who could possibly argue with the fact? Some people say, well, what's the difference between canceling a person for being against abortion and canceling a person for hating Jews or hating blacks? The difference is common decency. We're all clinging to this piece of driftwood in the sea of life, this America that's still a place where we can fight for our freedoms. We can still do that. We've got to be decent to one another, but it doesn't mean you can't say, hey, you guys in black neighborhoods have got to start getting married, because no one is going to come to your aid. You've got to save yourselves. You have got to save yourselves. You've got to work on your culture in your neighborhoods, because nobody else can help you with that. If you can't say that, you can't speak the truth. It is different between silencing people who are full of hate. And I'm not for that either, by the way. I've always been in favor of letting everybody talk, because I know we can win those arguments. But I do believe we should ignore certain people. I'm not going to pay attention to people who are saying stuff that's obviously hateful, obviously stupid, obviously ill-informed. They keep saying to me, debate us. It's like, Go take a walk and cool off. But still, I don't want them silenced. I don't want them censored at all. And still, this stuff that they have used to censor normal opinions, majority opinions, everyday opinions, is anti-American, and they have done it and done it and done it. And this is a good thing to hear Vivek and the Republican Party, Trump mentioned it too, to create a party that is going to welcome dissent, welcome debate, allow people to be themselves. The party I saw at the RNC is a party that can win in November. The party I saw at the RNC, I know people hate Trump. I know Trump is a really disliked politician, and maybe he's going to have to work on that. Maybe he's going to have to make his argument and make his case to people and not just play to his base. But still, this is a party that can win almost no matter who comes in and replaces Biden. And this is the last thing I want to talk about, winning and why the Reagan coalition has finally fallen apart. Men. Have you heard of Rosa Parks? This dual action prescription merges the powerhouse ingredients found in generic Viagra and Cialis, sildenafil and tadalafil into one formidable treatment. But it's not merely about the ingredients in the medication, it's how you take it. That's why Rose Sparks are designed to dissolve under your tongue. That's huge because dissolvable treatment hits your bloodstream faster than old school pills. Rose Sparks keeps you present with your partner instead of waiting for a pill to work. Rose Sparks leverages the benefits of sublingual administration, which means the tablet dissolves under your tongue. This method allows for fast absorption directly into the bloodstream, bypassing the digestive system. The result, quicker onset of action, reducing the wait time typically associated with traditional pills. Plus, tadalafil, the active ingredient in Cialis, lasts in the system for up to 36 hours, so when the mood is right, you'll be ready without another dose. For treatment that works fast and lasts long, connect with a provider at ro.co/Klavan to find out if Rose Sparks are right for you. ro.co/Klavan. Again, that's ro.co/Klavan. How do you spell CO? It's Klavan. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Only available if prescribed after an online consultation with a provider. Final chapter, bye-bye 1985. When Donald Trump was elected, I told a lot of conservative friends, conservatism has failed. Donald Trump would not have been elected because Donald Trump is, he's a populist. He's not a conservative as I understand old-fashioned conservatism, certainly Reaganism. And these conservatives said to me almost to a one, they said, we didn't fail. We were right about everything, but no one would listen to us. In a democracy, in a place where you have democratically elected governments, that is failure. That's what failure looks like. You can be right as often as you want, but if you don't win, it doesn't matter. And conservatives fail to convince Americans that they had the right ideas, that their perfect, wonderful, absolutely true ideas were the right ideas. Why did that happen? Trump is conservatism now. And the reason for that, and this is a short version of history, so I know I'm simplifying, I'm simplifying. But Ronald Reagan succeeded in his moment. He took Carter's stagflation, he turned it around with lower taxes and pro-business policies. He took softball appeasement of communism and stopped it, and he built up the military and acted aggressively in the face of threats, and he destroyed the Soviet Union. But when he was gone, the old party basically reasserted itself and gutted a lot of the principles for which he stood of their values. And some of the things Reagan failed to do, like he failed to get rid of the civil rights, what can I call it, the civil rights institution that basically replaced our Constitution with this idea. One of the things that drives me crazy is people watching TV and all they talk about is black, 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 race, 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 race. Like how many black people do you say? White supremacy, blah, 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 blah. As far as I'm concerned, they can go to hell. This is one country where one people, what's good for one person is good for the next. We should simply treat everybody the same. That is the idea. That Reagan famously had the three-legged stool that was strong defense, economic conservatism, and evangelical Christianity. And the evangelicals were part of the idea. Now, the evangelicals got nothing, really. They got nothing. But the strong defense worked. As I said, it brought down the Soviet Union. But it devolved over time as the party took itself back from the Reaganites. It devolved into this neoconservative hyper-aggression. The wars on terror were a failure. And I'm sorry, it doesn't matter whether the idea was good. It doesn't matter whether we killed some of the right people. You can't wage war uselessly for 20 years in Afghanistan until the Democrats come in and take power and humiliate us by one of the most chaotic retreats, the most chaotic retreat since Vietnam. Okay, that's going to happen after 20 years. You can't say, oh, it's all Biden's fault. It's Biden's fault, but we were unwise enough to set up a system where you could not win. Isolationism, I'm for America first, but isolationism is a childish overreaction. We can't isolate ourselves in this world. This world is just too small for isolationism. We help our friends, we foil our enemies. That is what you do. That is what foreign policy is about. You can help Ukraine, but you don't pour money into Ukraine and then hog-tie them. You don't, talk about putting them in NATO, which is only going to incite, aggression from Russia. You don't support Israel is a country we should support wholeheartedly. And I say this because I know there are anti-Semites on the right as well as the left, and they're just wrong. This is a free nation in a absolute snake pit that wants to devour it. It's not their fault. If the guns were turned away from Israel, the fighting would cease. If Israel put down its guns, it would be wiped off the face of the earth. That is the meaning of genocide, killing people because of their race. That is what they want to do. What Israel is doing is waging war, not committing genocide. All of that stuff is lies. We should support Israel whole hog. We don't have to go over and fight there. They have to fight for themselves, but we shouldn't stab them in the back and tell them they can't do this, they can't do that. Let them fight their wars. Let them figure out how to defend themselves, and we should supply them with arms when we can. We are a mighty nation, and we are the bulwark of democracy, and we have to help our friends, and we have to foil our enemies, but we cannot go into wars where no one knows what the mission is and never come back, because because of human nature, ultimately, it's going to end the way Afghanistan ended. So we have to resist the warmongers, and that's one of the things that happened to one of the legs of the Reagan stool. Economics. I am a capitalist all the way. It's a brilliant system, but it rests on values, right? Reagan's small government, pro-freedom agenda rested on a way of looking at the world that he took for granted and also made popular again. He brought it back. We turned it into this Ayn Rand garbage, and it is garbage. Ayn Rand is brilliant at diagnosing the illness of socialism, at diagnosing how the kind of locusts come in and strip away the wealth. She's great at that. She really is, although she gets a lot of it from Bastiat, but still, she's absolutely great at doing it. That makes people think she knows the cure, but it's not. She doesn't know the cure. A woman who wears a dollar bill sign instead of a cross is not going to get you what you want. Money is good. Ambition is good. Creativity is good. Men driving to support their families and build a new world, all that is good. But without values, it all is crap. I'm ambitious for you to listen to my show. I'm ambitious to be paid money for what I do. But what if I lie because I know that's what you want to hear, or sell you hate and anger and conspiracy theories that will destroy you because that's addictive and that gets me clicks? Then I suck. Then I'm nothing. I'm nobody. I die rich. Maybe I die rich, but I'm nobody. Likewise, creating wealth is wonderful, but sending jobs overseas because you can get a cheaper iPhone, but everybody in your country is out of work, no way. Selling people garbage because it works, selling people fentanyl and prostitution and all this stuff because you make money that way, hiring illegals because they're cheaper and bringing illegals in because they're cheaper, abandoning a community that depends on you because you can make a few dollars more in another community. I'm sorry, when you do that, ultimately, you're opening the window for the locusts to come in, right? Because of human nature, you can't think without human nature. You can't build a policy without human nature. If you betray your own people to make more money because capitalism, ultimately, when the socialists come along and say, how about we strip all these guys of their wealth and give it to you, they'll do it. And then, of course, you go bankrupt and everything falls apart. I am a capitalist, but capitalism needs values. The values come first. They all come first. And the reason, Ayn Rand always depicts the poor person, the working man, as kind of servile and tugging his forelock and just adoring his capitalist masters. The working man will eat you alive if you don't treat him fairly, and he should, because why shouldn't he be treated fairly? And finally, the evangelicals. They became powerful by entering politics, and that is always deadly for churches. They didn't want to lose that popularity. They don't want to lose the money. They toadied to government during the pandemic and closed churches when they shouldn't have. Megan Basham I think we're going to interview her next week. Megan Basham is about to bring out a book showing how they got corrupted by money and adopted the gay pride agenda and transgenderism. So here's the thing. To the Trumpists, you are now conservatism. Trumpism is now conservatism. All I can say is, yes, fix the economy, put America first, and keep your entitlements because you can't get rid of them, but you got to reform them. You have to reform them. We have to do it or it's going to go broke. And then we're going to have austerity. We're going to have high taxes. Be honest with the people. And then Trumpism will remain. It'll remain conservatism. It'll last longer the more it works. The same thing is true with a strong defense. Put America first, but do not kid yourself. And Trump never does this. Don't kid yourself about China, Iran, and Russia. They are serious. They mean to destroy us. They hate us. And they'll be deterred by strength and defense, not just, at our borders, but we're going to have to show them that kind of thing around the world. I am not for endless wars. I am not for just going off and fighting for anything. I'm certainly not for sending our guys over to get killed for nothing. But sometimes you got to fight, and you got to make sure that they know you're willing to fight. They're afraid of the sword. You got to do it. That way you have a strong policy that's not neoconservatism, but it's also not isolationism, which is childish nonsense. And for the churches, stop trying to be popular. Preach the living God. Preach Jesus Christ. I remember in LA, I turned to my wife, we were looking for a church. I said, how hard is it to preach the Gospels? They're written down. Just preach the Gospels, even if you have only one person in your church. Never mind how many people you have. Tell the truth. Make your faith a thing of truth and beauty, and the people will come. They're waiting for you. They're waiting for you to preach the gospel. The people, you like your power, you like your money, you want to be fashionable, you don't want to be told by the elites that you're no good. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all those things will be given unto you. If we win in November, this will be Trump's generation. If they use it wisely, they can make it last. Over this week, we have witnessed history. After a failed assassination attempt, Donald Trump rose defiantly with his fist in the air. Last night, he ascended the stage to accept the Republican nomination to become the 47th president of the United States. As excited and motivated as we are, we cannot forget that this election has not been won, and there's a long way to go. The DailyWire is in the fight every day, ensuring you get the uncensored, unfiltered truth you need and deserve. Join us now at dailywire.com with code FIGHT for 47% off annual memberships. We're doing our part to make the case for putting the United States back on track, and we need you to join us in this fight. Join now and use promo code FIGHT to save 47%. All right, let's do some Klavan Klapbacks.
A bullet couldn't stop Trump.
Absolutely. All right, from Chuck to your modern day Elijah. That's an interesting one, Elijah. I hope I get taken bodily into heaven, because otherwise it's not going to end well. I'm reading your brilliant YA novel, If We Survive. That is a good novel. I'll tell you a funny story about this. I'm reading your brilliant YA novel, If We Survive, for the 5th or 6th time. And the character Meredith makes the comment, when someone is so evil, reasoned arguments sound like an accusation. I thought it was such an apropos statement about why people on the left can't see common sense about the border, cops, abortion, legalized drugs, etc. Thank you for all you sacrifice to bring us the truth and brightening our days with your irreverent humor. One of your biggest fans, from Hunting Down Amanda to Bishop and Weiss to Another Kingdom and the great Cameron Winter, from Chuck. Well, thank you for all that. Those are all names of my novels, which I hope you're all out buying like crazy. But, I'll tell you, I'm glad you found If We Survive, because it's one of the best of my YA novels. And the way I knew it was one of the best is I had a film agent whom I left, but he was totally a leftist. But he loved my work, and it was touching. He would take my work out, and he could never understand why people wouldn't buy it. And I used to say, I'm blacklisted. No, they would never blacklist you, because he was a leftist, so he didn't realize how bad his party was. But he read If We Survive and said, I don't like this. I don't like this. I thought, this must be really good. So if you have a teenager or you like teenage YA novels, If We Survive is a really good one. And again, the new Cameron Winter book, it can be pre-ordered now, A Woman Underground. All right, from Kevin. Hi, Andrew. I wrote you roughly 7 years ago about how to handle my emotions in response to learning that my adult daughter's special needs from a premature birth were likely due to my wife's abortions in her youth before she really knew Christ. I've always wanted to write back and thank you for your kind response. I now believe there will be no full resolution of the pain I feel about this, but I'm following your advice, and I've never brought it up to my sweet wife, who has no inkling about any of this. The internal anger over the past is much diminished as I focus on the present and find blessings in my daughter's life. And I often repeat, play in pain and find the blessing. Those negative thoughts, when they show up, are now more Chihuahua than Pitbull. I love your new Cameron Winter series, and I never miss your weekly show. If my daughter hears your show on my iPhone, she always says, Andrew Klavan, I love him. Thanks, Kevin. I'm incredibly touched to hear that. But you're hitting on something. I was talking about this a little bit on the show I did after Trump was attacked, about the fact that God will take your pain and your sorrow and turn it to good, but it doesn't take away the pain and the sorrow. And so you learn to live in a sort of bittersweet way, because you know if you hand these things over to God, he will bless you through them. He will take your pain and turn it into wisdom. He will take your sorrow and it will teach you how to have joy, and it will get better in time. Time heals so many things, but he doesn't take that stuff away, because the suffering is important too, but he will turn it to the good. It is an amazing party trick that God does if you invite him to your party. From Stephen, I will keep this short and sweet. Great Klavan. Can a man and his wife be sexually immoral alone in their bedroom together? Yeah, of course they can. If they degrade one another, if they hurt one another. I'm not against play. I'm not against fantasy play. I think, sex, you should be with your spouse, you should be incredibly generous, incredibly open-minded. You should have lots and lots of fun and do the things that turn each other on. But yeah, you can degrade one another, and you can even degrade one another consensually. I mean, it's a little harder to do, but you can do it. And you should think about that, because one of the things about, fetishes is that they usually are based on some trauma in your past, and you don't want to get locked in your past. You want to try and break through into a new day so God can make a new thing for you. And so, look, there are things that, if there's only one way you can be excited, you may have to do those things, but you should try. You should try and work away from degrading things and toward loving things, because I think that this idea that the only rule in sexuality is consent, is simply wrong. And I don't want to get, like I said, I don't want to get too picayune. Do the things that are fun, love each other, play. The bedroom should be a place for love and play, and over time that will give you great dividends of closeness and oneness that I think will stick with you, and I'm all in favor of that. But yeah, it's not just consent. It's about treating each other with dignity and with respect. I know sex isn't a dignified occupation. That's fine. But still, it's about treating each other like real people and not hurting one another and not shaming one another and not degrading one another. All right, we have got to go over to Member Block, which will plunge you into a darkness like no other, which is Klavanlessness. I can't even describe it to you, but involves a lot of flames and broken glass and screaming. You do not want to go there, so become a member today. You can stretch this out. You can stretch this moment out. Go to dailywire.com/subscribe. Use code Klavan at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. If you are a member already, come over to Member Block. If you're not, sorry.